Spiritual clarity is the foundation of victorious living. Without clarity, we move through life in a haze, reacting rather than responding, existing rather than living. The victories we hope for over fear, over weakness, over failure, are not just battles of the outside world, they begin within. Clarity of spirit means understanding not only who you are but what you are here for. It means recognizing the higher purpose behind the pain, the discipline behind the silence, and the guidance hidden within stillness. The book of Revelation calls the reader to awaken, not to be consumed by fear of the end, but to open the eyes of the soul and see what has always been present yet unnoticed. The seven lampstands are symbols not only of churches, but of the light meant to shine within each person. They stand as reminders that you are a vessel, capable of bearing light or hiding it, of guiding others or confusing them, of either standing firm or fading in the shadows. When your spirit is unclear, every challenge feels overwhelming. Even the smallest setback seems like a sign to quit, but when the spirit is focused and clear, even the storm becomes a training ground. Clarity allows you to see that struggle is not punishment, but preparation. You begin to discern the difference between noise and truth, between distraction and calling. Without clarity, we are tossed like waves. With clarity, we stand like mountains. This is why spiritual clarity is not a luxury. It is a necessity for those who seek victory. Those who lack clarity depend only on emotion and appearance, but those with spiritual clarity depend on purpose, faith, and inner alignment. Their actions are not scattered. Their words are not wasted. Their strength comes not from physical power, but from unwavering conviction. The seven lampstands show us that spiritual light is not automatic. It requires tending. It requires attention. In the ancient temple, the lamps had to be filled with oil, trimmed, watched. So too, your spiritual clarity must be maintained. The oil represents what you feed your mind and soul. If you feed it with confusion, resentment, fear, your light grows dim. But if you feed it with truth, discipline, prayer, and silence, it shines brightly, even in a dark world. Victory is not given to the loudest voice or the most aggressive fighter. It is given to the one who sees clearly, who discerns the path even when it is narrow and steep. There are many who lose battles not because they lack strength, but because they lack clarity. They do not know what matters. They confuse comfort with peace, recognition with purpose, and motion with progress. Spiritual clarity breaks this illusion. It reminds you that you are not here to win everything, but to win what truly matters. You are not here to please everyone, but to be faithful to the path marked for you. You are not here to avoid struggle, but to grow stronger through it. That is the secret most overlooked. Clarity itself becomes power. It gives you the courage to say yes to what aligns and no to what distracts. It frees you from being controlled by the opinions of others. It strengthens you to endure suffering without losing sight of the greater goal. The messages to the seven churches in Revelation each begin with a recognition, then a correction, then a promise. This pattern mirrors the journey of anyone seeking victory. First, we must see ourselves as we are. This takes clarity, to admit where we have compromised, where we have grown cold, where we have tolerated weakness. This takes spiritual sight. Second, we must be willing to correct ourselves, not just externally, but at the level of the heart. And third, we must hold fast to the promise. Without clarity, we confuse correction with condemnation. But clarity helps us see that correction is a gift. It is the road back to strength. Spiritual clarity does not come from information. It comes from alignment, from sitting still long enough to hear what your spirit is truly saying, from separating the voice of fear from the voice of faith, from recognizing when your ambition is disguising your emptiness. from returning again and again to the source of all light, not your own understanding, but divine truth. Victory is not found in trying harder alone. It is found in seeing clearer, choosing wiser, walking truer. And all of that begins with spiritual clarity. In a world of endless noise, distractions, and contradictions, clarity becomes a rare and priceless treasure. The more noise there is, the more discipline you must apply to guard your inner lamp. Do not expect victory if you are feeding confusion. Do not expect peace if you are avoiding truth. Do not expect growth if you resist pruning. Spiritual clarity enables you to accept what you must let go of, to embrace what is difficult, and to walk away from what no longer serves your mission. It is not about being certain of every outcome. It is about being rooted in what cannot be shaken. You will meet trials. You will face fatigue. You will be tempted to dim your light to fit in or to avoid conflict. But spiritual clarity keeps you centered. It tells you that you are not here to blend in, but to stand out, not for ego, but for purpose. Your lamp was not lit to hide under convenience. It was lit to guide, to reveal, to expose what is hidden in darkness. That takes courage, that takes sacrifice, but more than anything, that takes clarity. Victory is not always visible to others. Sometimes victory is quiet. It is the moment you refuse to lie to yourself. It is the moment you stayed faithful even when no one noticed. It is the moment you chose to believe in a higher promise even when the present looked bleak. That is the power of spiritual clarity. It does not guarantee comfort, but it grants unshakable peace. And from that peace comes strength, and from that strength comes victory, not always instant, but always inevitable for those who endure with clarity. So if you seek victory, do not begin with the battlefield. Begin with the soul, tend to your lamps, and trim the flame, fill it with the oil of truth, humility, and discipline. Let it burn in stillness before it ever burns in action, for the one who sees clearly will walk confidently, and the one who walks confidently will overcome. Each lampstand and represents a call to self-examination and alignment. The vision of the 7 lampstands in Revelation is more than a prophetic image. It is a mirror, a symbolic confrontation with the soul. Each lampstand, tied to a church, reveals not only communal conditions but personal realities. When light is placed on a stand, it reveals everything within its range, both the beautiful and the broken. In the same way, when we examine ourselves through the light of truth, we begin to see what has been hidden, neglected, or justified. This is the essence of self-examination. It is not an exercise of shame, but of awakening. It is not self-condemnation, but self-alignment. It is the recognition that growth does not begin in applause, but in honesty. Each message to the 7 churches starts with "I know your works," and this alone should bring both comfort and conviction. Nothing is hidden. The exterior might fool others, but the interior is seen, the lampstand, and in each of us is a place where light must shine uninterrupted. And for that to happen, we must evaluate the condition of our inner world. Are we driven by love or fear? Are we moving from faith or pride? Are we growing in truth or merely performing spirituality? These are the types of questions that burn away illusion and force us to see the foundation we've built upon. Self-examination is not a seasonal task, it is daily. Just as the priest in the tabernacle had to tend to the lamp daily, trimming the wicks and refilling the oil, so too must we check our motives, our focus, our actions. A small compromise today becomes a larger drift tomorrow. A slight bitterness left unchecked grows into full disconnection, but a soul examined with honesty becomes a soul aligned with truth. The lampstands call us back, not to performance, but to presence. They remind us that spiritual strength is not only in public preaching or bold declarations, but in the hidden alignment of the heart when no one is watching. Many people desire victory, yet resist the process of inner confrontation. They want external success without internal correction. But in Revelation, the churches that were praised were those that endured, repented, and overcame, never those that avoided the truth. Each lampstand and reveals a specific spiritual condition, and those conditions still exist in the hearts of individuals today. Coldness, compromise, endurance, faithfulness, apathy, lukewarmness. These are not ancient labels, they are living tendencies within us. To examine yourself in light of the lampstand and is to courageously ask, which message was meant for me? Where have I drifted? What must I return to? These are not comfortable questions, but they are the doorway to clarity and transformation. Alignment follows examination. Once we see clearly, we must then adjust. The lampstands were not only symbolic, they were set in the presence of Christ, who walked among them. His presence reveals, but it also restores. Alignment means not just recognizing where we are, but repositioning ourselves in line with divine truth. That may mean surrendering what we've idolized, confronting what we've avoided, or forgiving what we've held on to. Alignment is not just about behavior, it is about the posture of the heart. A heart aligned with truth walks differently. It speaks with integrity, it acts with courage, it moves with conviction. The lampstands were golden not because of perfection, but because of value. You are not called to be flawless, but faithful. You are not expected to never fall, but to always return. When you align yourself with the truth, your value is not diminished by weakness, because humility becomes your strength. Alignment does not make you proud, it makes you grounded. It brings a peace that cannot be shaken by circumstances, because you know you are standing on the right ground. And when you are aligned, your battles become purposeful, your suffering becomes meaningful, and your journey becomes illuminated. The danger of avoiding self-examination is that we become disconnected from our source. Like a lamp with no oil, we look whole but offer no light. We move, we speak, we act, but with no clarity, no authority, no true impact. This is how spiritual decay begins, not with rebellion, but with negligence. A refusal to look inward becomes the root of outward collapse. But when we take time to look inward, guided by the light of the Spirit, we become anchored. We become aware of our blind spots, of our growth areas, of the places where we must surrender deeper. In a world obsessed with outward appearance, self-examination is an act of rebellion. It is the decision to stop performing and start becoming. It is the bravery to admit, I am not okay here, but I am willing to change. It is the humility to acknowledge, I was wrong, and the faith to believe I can be made right. The lampstand does not shine for itself. It exists to hold the flame, and the flame is the presence of truth. Our lives must reflect that same purpose. We are not the source of light, but we are called to carry it faithfully, to be a lampstand, and is a responsibility. It means people will see you and either be guided or misled. Your choices will either clarify or confuse. Your actions will either reflect light or cast shadows. This is why alignment is not optional. It is essential. You cannot represent truth while living in contradiction. You cannot proclaim light while harboring darkness. The alignment that flows from self-examination ensures that your life and your message speak the same language. It builds integrity, which is the true mark of spiritual maturity. There is great reward for those who walk in alignment. Each church that responded with repentance and realignment received a promised victory, access, authority, a name, a place. These are not just future rewards. They are present realities for the aligned soul. Peace is a reward. Clarity is a reward. Strength in trials is a reward. When you are aligned, even your waiting seasons are filled with purpose. Even your wilderness becomes holy ground because you are not lost. You are lit. You are not wandering. You are walking with the one who holds the lampstands in his hand, the lamps, and invites you to examine where your light is failing. It urges you to ask, what has dimmed your fire? It challenges you to look past the noise and remember your first love. It calls you out of complacency and into consecration. It is not a symbol of judgment, but of hope. A hope that you can return, that you can rekindle, that you can realign and shine again. This is the secret of spiritual longevity, not the avoidance of struggle, but the willingness to keep adjusting, to keep aligning, to keep allowing the light to expose and heal. So the next time you think of the seven lampstands, don't see history, see yourself. Ask what message belongs to your current condition. Ask where you need clarity. Ask what must be trimmed, what must be reignited, what must be surrendered. Victory begins here, not in loud declarations, but in quiet alignment, not in public moments, but in private shifts. Each lampstand is a mirror, each flame is an invitation, and the one who dares to look deeply, to align fully, will not only endure, but overcome. Endurance and obedience unlock divine promises. These two virtues are often overlooked in a world that seeks instant results, quick blessings, and immediate gratification. Yet, within the messages to the seven churches in Revelation, the repeated theme is not quick success, but patient perseverance. It is not about the one who starts loudly, but the one who finishes faithfully. Endurance is not glamorous. It is often quiet, hidden, and unnoticed by the world. But heaven watches endurance closely. Every step taken in faithfulness, every moment of obedience when it would have been easier to quit, is seen, recorded, and honored. Divine promises are not handed out cheaply. They are entrusted to those who prove trustworthy. Obedience is not about external compliance, but about internal agreement with God's will. It means saying yes to what God says, even when your feelings say no. It means walking the narrow path when the wide road is more appealing. In Revelation, the one who overcomes is promised access to the tree of life, immunity from the second death, hidden manna, a white stone with a new name, authority over nations, and the right to sit on Christ's throne. These are not symbolic rewards alone. They are reflections of spiritual inheritance, depth of intimacy, and the fulfillment of a life lived in alignment. But these promises are conditional, not on perfection, but on endurance. Obedience. Endurance means staying when it's easier to walk away. It means holding on when everything inside you is tired. It means trusting when your eyes cannot see the outcome. Many begin with enthusiasm, but fade when the fire comes. But endurance separates the serious from the shallow. It proves love. It reveals faith. It builds character. In endurance we are refined. We learn patience, compassion, and strength. We stop chasing emotional highs and begin walking in steady trust. Those who endure understand that every trial is an opportunity to grow deeper, not just survive. They do not see hardship as abandonment, but as a refining fire. They understand that God is more interested in their transformation than in their comfort. Obedience, like endurance, is tested most when no one is watching. It is easy to obey when the outcome benefits us, but true obedience is tested when God asks you to do what doesn't make sense, what costs you, or what calls for surrender. Abraham obeyed when he was told to go to an unknown land. Noah obeyed when he was told to build something that had never existed. Jesus obeyed even unto death. This is the level of obedience that unlocks promises not accessible to the disobedient. God doesn't reward performance. He honors obedience because obedience is the proof of trust. When you obey, you declare that God's way is higher, even when it is harder. Revelation's messages were not soft encouragements. They were warnings, rebukes, and calls to radical faithfulness. And yet, each message ends with a promise. This teaches us that correction and promise go hand in hand. God corrects those he loves because he wants them to receive the fullness of what he has prepared. Endurance and obedience position you to receive that fullness. They are not burdens, they are bridges to blessing. Every act of obedience, no matter how small, builds momentum toward the promise. Every step of endurance, no matter how slow, moves you closer to the prize. And often, the breakthrough comes not at the start of the journey, but in the final step. When giving up feels easier than pressing on, divine promises are not won through manipulation, ambition, or religious routine. They are accessed through surrender. Obedience is surrender in action. It says, "Not my will, but yours." It bows when pride wants to stand. It acts when fear wants to hesitate. It speaks when silence is easier. Obedience cannot be selective. Partial obedience is still disobedience. When God calls for a response, he looks for a heart that will say yes, regardless of cost. And those who say yes, again and again, become vessels for glory, not perfect, but purified. Not always strong, but always willing. Endurance keeps your flame burning when the winds of life try to blow it out. It is not passive, it is fierce. It is the fight to remain grounded in truth when culture pulls in every direction. It is the strength to stand alone if necessary, to walk the lonely road with faith as your only companion, and in doing so, you become the kind of person God can trust with weighty things. Promises are not just blessings, they are responsibilities. They change your position, your authority, your impact, and God will not release that level of spiritual inheritance to those who cannot endure or obey. In the early church, believers endured persecution, imprisonment, rejection, and death, not because it felt good, but because they saw the promise as greater than the pain. They were convinced that obedience would lead to a crown, that endurance would lead to eternal reward. Their example is recorded, not to be admired from afar, but to be imitated in spirit. In today's world, the challenges are different, but the principle remains: endure, obey, press on, do not waver, do not compromise. The promises still stand. They are still for the one who overcomes. Many people desire the promise but despise the process. They want the crown without the cross. They want the breakthrough without the obedience. But God's ways do not bend to our preferences. He honors those who walk his way, even when it costs them something. The secret of divine reward lies in secret places, where no one applauds, no one sees, and no one understands. Yet in those places God is watching, and he promises to him who overcomes, not just those who started, but those who endured. There is something sacred in the struggle. Something eternal is being built when you keep showing up, keep believing, keep obeying, even when the results are not immediate. Each day of obedience becomes a stone in the foundation of your promise. Each trial endured becomes a chapter in your testimony. And when the appointed time comes, the reward is not just satisfying, it is supernatural. The doors that open are the ones no man can shut. The peace that comes is the kind no circumstance can steal. The victory that unfolds is not fleeting, but eternal. So walk on, stand firm, refuse to compromise. Let obedience be your offering and endurance be your worship. The promises are sure they are not empty words, they are not forgotten, they are waiting for the one who will press through, hold fast, and walk faithfully to the end. Because when endurance and obedience join hands, the gates of heaven open, and what you receive will not only change your life, it will echo into eternity. True victory is not escape from struggle, but faithfulness through it. This truth stands in direct contrast to the common belief that victory means a life free from conflict, pain, or difficulty. Many desire a path without resistance, a journey without hardship, and results without sacrifice. Yet the message of Revelation and the lives of those who overcame show us something deeper, something more refined. The essence of true victory is not found in avoiding the fire, but in remaining faithful while walking through it. Faithfulness is not proven in ease. It is revealed in pressure, in uncertainty, and in storms. Struggle is not the absence of divine favor. It is often the evidence of it. God refines, tests, and trains those he loves. The crown of life is not for those who run away, but for those who stand their ground, endure the trial, and stay true even when everything in them wants to flee. The world celebrates escape. It praises quick exits, shortcuts, and survival tactics. But the kingdom of God honors those who remain rooted. In Revelation, we see churches being rebuked not for failing to grow numerically, but for failing to remain faithful in midst of difficulty. Jesus does not praise those who escaped persecution. He praises those who did not deny his name in the face of it. The call of discipleship is not to run from pressure, but to stand in it with unwavering devotion. That is the true mark of victory. Not that the fire didn't come, but that the fire didn't consume your faith. Struggle becomes sacred when you realize it is the very arena where your loyalty, trust, and perseverance are forged and revealed. Faithfulness through struggle means holding your ground when your emotions pull you in different directions. It means waking up with doubts but choosing trust. It means being misunderstood and still walking in integrity. It means sowing in tears and believing for a harvest. This kind of faithfulness is not passive. It is a powerful stance. It is a refusal to be moved by what is temporary. It is declaring, I will not bow, I will not break, I will not give in. Even when your strength is low and your soul is weary, heaven is moved by this kind of faithfulness. The spiritual realm does not measure your greatness by how easy your journey was, but by how unwavering your faith was in the middle of adversity. There is a purpose in the struggle. Every delay, every betrayal, every hardship, every moment of loneliness or loss, it all becomes part of a larger narrative when faithfulness is maintained. Struggle strips away what is shallow and reveals what is unshakable. You begin to see that you are not defined by your pain, but by your response to it. Struggle forces you to rely on what is eternal, to draw from wells deeper than emotion or logic. And in doing so, your character is built, your dependence on God deepens, and your witness becomes powerful. Those who remain faithful through struggle are not only victorious in eternity, they carry authority in the present, their words carry weight, their lives shine with authenticity, their faith inspires others to endure as well. Victory that comes through faithfulness in struggle is often unseen by human eyes. It is the quiet decision to forgive when bitterness feels justified. It is the silent prayer whispered in tears. It is the refusal to quit when no one would blame you if you did. These moments, though small in appearance, are massive in impact. They are the hidden victories that shake spiritual realms. They are the kind of faithfulness that builds altars in the heart and invites the presence of God to dwell. Revelation reminds us that the overcomer is not the one who had no struggle, but the one who stayed faithful in the middle of it. The faithful servant is not the one who had it easy, but the one who remained loyal no matter the season. True victory is also deeply personal. It doesn't always look like public success or outward triumph. Sometimes victory is just standing after falling. Sometimes it is smiling through sorrow, choosing to keep going and loving again after being wounded. It is resisting bitterness, choosing hope and giving when it hurts. These are the victories that matter in eternity. They cannot be measured by human standards, but they are precious in the eyes of God. When the final story is told, it will not be about who had the most comfort, fame, or accolades, but about who endured, who obeyed, who loved, who remained faithful. To remain faithful through struggle, you must have vision beyond the present. You must be able to see the promise on the other side. Revelation is filled with imagery and symbols, not to confuse us, but to lift our eyes higher. The faithful church is promised access to hidden manna, authority over nations, and eternal fellowship with Christ. These promises are not rewards for escaping pain, but for enduring it. Faithfulness through struggle means you keep the long view in mind. You understand that this moment is temporary, but your response to it echoes forever. You choose faith because you trust the one who holds your future. You choose obedience because you know his way is perfect, even when it hurts. Struggle also reveals your foundation. When the storm comes, only what is rooted deeply will remain. Faithfulness tests your roots. It asks, what are you standing on? What is guiding your choices? When your foundation is Christ, you can withstand any storm. You may bend, but you will not break. You may weep, but you will not wither. The storm becomes your teacher, not your destroyer. You walk through fire and come out refined, not consumed. This is the glory of the gospel, not that we escape the world, but that we overcome it, not that we avoid pain, but that we grow stronger through it. So when you find yourself in struggle, do not despair. Do not believe the lie that you are defeated just because the road is hard. The presence of struggle does not mean the absence of God. In fact, it often means the opposite. God is near to the brokenhearted. He strengthens the weary. He crowns the faithful. Let your struggle become your altar. Let your pain become your offering. Let your tears water the seeds of tomorrow's harvest. Stay faithful, not because it is easy, but because it is worth it. This is the victory Revelation speaks of, the victory of the overcomer, the one who stayed true, the one who did not deny the name of Christ, the one who endured to the end. This is the victory that cannot be stolen by time, trial, or man. It is sealed in eternity. It is spoken over your life when heaven says, "Well done," and that moment, that reward, is worth every step, every tear, every battle fought along the way. Faithfulness through struggle is not weakness. It is the deepest strength. It is the loudest declaration that you trust the one who walks with you, even through the fire. That is true victory, and it belongs to those who endure.